Welcome to the Get Over Yourself podcast. This is Brad Kearns. Just listened to the show with LeBron James. Pretty disappointed. LeBron James talking about eating his egg whites for breakfast and other such technology that's 20 years behind the times. Kind of cooped up, trying to get some fresh air for a breather show. Thank you, Anderson Paak, bringing it home from Oxnard, California.
I've been feeling kind of cooped up. I'm
Trying to get some fresh air.
Hey,
When you got the roof off, you know it never rains here.
hey, you ain't got a flash when you're taking your picture.
You ain't gotta drown or waste your potential. Paparazzi wanna shoot ya. Da-da-da-da-da.
I've been in my bag.
Anyway, trying to throw a bag in the safe.
You get tortured.
Welcome, listeners. Original recording sufficiently distorted to avoid trademark infringement lawsuits. And back to business. Let's call this the Breather Show of Brad's important notes from cool articles. This and that. One thing to discuss is a great article in Forbes.com by Benjamin Hardy, and he was writing about Tim Ferriss. Title of the article, Tim Ferriss's 9-word question that changed his life. So we'll get into that. I'm starting to enjoy Tim Ferriss more and more. Obviously, prominent podcast host and author. He does get the A-list guests on there, which is great for the podcast medium in general. And he's also been doing a lot of reflecting and sharing with the audience and helping us think about these great questions that are detailed in the article. Of course, he lands the big-time A-list guests, celebrities, top athletes, world performers. Just listened to the show with LeBron James. Pretty disappointed. LeBron James talking about eating his egg whites for breakfast and other such technology that's 20 years behind the times as a centerpiece of one's injury prevention strategy. Flexibility, mobility, perhaps dynamic stretching, vastly more important, but you still see these athletes sitting at mid-court before the game doing the old-time traditional stretches, which recent science has shown to weaken a muscle for up to 30 minutes. So despite some of his training strategies and approaches that can be called into question, here he is dominating like no other athlete. So you can't say too much bad about him, but I will call him out for the egg white angle. I mean, come on, man. Read the Framingham study, the longest and most detailed epidemiological study in the history of science. That is a study of a certain population for long duration, and these are residents of Framingham, Massachusetts. The study started in 1948 and has been tracking the diet, exercise, and lifestyle habits of Framingham participants for these many generations. Some of the interesting conclusions that came out of the study that we reference in the Primal Blueprint books and a lot of the ancestral health experts are pointing to. Egg intake has no correlation with blood cholesterol levels. Saturated fat intake has no correlation with heart disease risk. Cholesterol levels have no correlation with heart disease risk. Also, a UCLA meta-study referenced by Dr. Ron Sinha in his wonderful book, The South Asian Health Solution. And in our upcoming podcast, we covered this a little bit. But he pointed out that this meta-study, the study of many, many other studies on heart disease risk, revealed that 80% of heart attack victims have LDL cholesterol levels that are considered to be in the safe range. Many of these folks have had their cholesterol artificially suppressed by statin medications, which have an assortment of risk factors when taking those, including depleting cellular energy, depleting the critical coenzyme Q10 that causes fatigue and muscle weakness, leading to less exercise, leading to elevated heart disease risk because of the statins that you've been prescribed. But anyway, the takeaway point is that we have to look deeper than the lipid hypothesis of heart disease that we've come to embrace as the gospel for the last 30, 40, 50 years, whereby eating fat, eating cholesterol clogs your arteries and causes the heart attack, has been completely refuted by respected science in recent years. And now we have experts like Dr. Sinha, Dr. Kate Shanahan, author of Deep Nutrition, saying that really the best tracker for heart disease risk is to look at your blood triglyceride level in a routine blood test and striving to have a favorable ratio of triglycerides to HDL. That's the undisputed good cholesterol that is known as nature's garbage trucks for scavenging damaged molecules in the bloodstream and recycling them, getting them out of there before they can cause damage. So you want high HDL levels, undisputed conclusion. And also you want to see low triglyceride levels because that's an indication of how much fat is running through your bloodstream. If the levels are elevated, that indicates your body's overwhelmed and is likely to deposit some of that into the walls of the arteries and begin the terrible process of heart disease playing out with the cholesterol molecules becoming oxidized and inflamed, being exposed to oxygen on the wall of the artery. The immune system, the white blood cells come to the rescue because they see the inflammatory incident. The macrophages come and turn into foam cells, and that's when you have a clot or a blockage in the artery and a heart attack occurs. So the true causes of heart disease are oxidation and inflammation from a high-stress lifestyle, not enough sleep, insufficient exercise, often excessive exercise, as we're seeing in the extreme athletic community. A lot of heart disease risk from the hardcore guys who are blasting their hearts with too much exercise over years and decades. So oxidation and inflammation is what you want to stay away from, and consuming healthy, nutritious fats and foods high in cholesterol but also high in nutrition, like the wonderful egg, one of the most nutritious foods on the planet, obviously been a centerpiece of the human diet for 2.5 million years. So this ridiculously outdated, back to LeBron, concept of consuming egg whites, which is just a simple kind of inferior protein source and nothing more in the white. All the nutrition is concentrated in the yolk. Whew! Back to the finishing the heart disease story. So if you have a high HDL level, you're going to have good scavenging and cleansing of your bloodstream, and a low triglyceride level, meaning that your bloodstream is not overwhelmed with too much fat, that it's going to cause problems. And the commonly cited levels are getting your triglycerides under 150 as a urgent safety measure to get you out of the red zone, the red flag zone. Dr. Sinha would like to see your triglycerides under 100, so I would prefer to strive for that number rather than the quote-unquote normal, because normal's pretty crappy these days, isn't it? So, getting your triglycerides under 100, getting your HDL up over 40 as a minimum goal. Love to see that thing over 60. And then with the ultimate goal of getting that triglyceride to HDL ratio at 1-to-1 or better. That would be nice, okay? So look at that on the blood test, and don't worry so much about your total LDL value. You can now test LDL particle size as a common blood test because physicians and medical science is realizing the importance of distinguishing between the two types of LDL, one considered large, fluffy LDL, which is generally considered to be harmless, and then the potentially problematic small, dense LDL, which are the ones, the molecules that are small and dense enough to lodge on the walls of your arteries and cause big trouble. So when you get the particle size breakdown, that gives you a better indication that your total LDL is not as relevant, and if you have low triglycerides, you most likely have low levels of small, dense LDL. So try to get triglycerides to HDL in top shape when you go get your blood test. Definitely an important thing to track and make immediate changes to the diet if you're not looking at that 1-to-1 ratio. Okay, that aside started with LeBron James and his egg whites. So back to the Medium article breaking down some stuff from Tim Ferriss. The author was Christopher Hardy. So Ferriss turned 40 in 2017. The author of the article says he had several friends die and other key events occur that caused him to be more reflective. So the author of the article writes, he sat down with his journal, and oh my goodness, aren't we hearing so much about journaling these days? Pretty interesting, because we've been hit with so much stimulation, hyperconnectivity, constant influx of content into our brains, and now the experts and the thought leaders are asking us to sit down with pen and paper and compose a journal. The gratitude journal is getting a lot of props as a wonderful lifestyle habit to write down and journal something that you're grateful for every single day. Let's see, do I have a notebook full of wonderful journal insights that I write in every single day? Not really. Sorry, folks. How about you? Do you do it? Do you like it? Send an email in. Maybe we'll talk about it on a future show. getoveryourselfpodcast@gmail.com. I'm pretty busy writing and cranking out a lot of emails, book projects, articles, and so I'm a little deficient on the journaling. But I will admit to writing down a lot of personal matters so that I can embed them into my brain and not have these transitory experiences where we get exposed to something really cool and then we forget about it in the days and weeks and months that follow as we get inundated with so much content every single day. Great example is a golf lesson from my main man, Christopher Smith in Eugene, Oregon, or my other main man, Shannon Hoyt in Rockland, California. Oh, I love getting the lesson. It's so important to have a master watch you in action and help correct and refine your technique and your approach, your mindset. As you have a peak performance goal in anything, go out there and get expert help and support. You will make breakthroughs beyond what you can do figuring all out for yourself in life. Anyway, after one of those lessons, I will sit down and take copious notes about all the things that I learned so that I can refer to them over and over as time goes on and make sure that you really own and appreciate these concepts that you've been exposed to rather than let them drift away and slip away and get buried over time. So that's my commitment to journaling, is to writing down important things, especially stuff that you think you can remember, like when you go to Home Depot and talk to the person about the different options for light bulbs or paint colors or landscaping materials, and you go, makes sense, okay, great, and then 2 days later you're like, what did the person say? So yeah, that's a great idea, to make an effort to just be precise and methodical with the organizing of all the important information in your life. Ditto for great articles and concepts that I'm exposed to that I think will make for great content on the Get Over Yourself podcast. So this cool article, carrying on, as I do in a meandering manner, to some of the concepts that Ferriss shared. So he got out his journal and started asking himself important questions, such as, these are the questions that Ferriss asked himself and then answered in the journal in his year of reflection, having hit the big 4-0 and other life milestones occurring. First one, and this is for you now, listener, to participate and ask these questions of yourself. Were my goals my own, or simply what I thought I should want? Ooh, can we have any reference points here for perhaps the career path that you chose, influenced by the measuring, judging forces of society that value economic success over perhaps following your passions or making a contribution that's not rewarded with direct high compensation? Next question. How much of life had I missed from underplanning or overplanning? Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, there's some value to being spontaneous, and there's also some value to getting a lot of information in advance, making good decisions, aligning, for example, your travel plans with things that you really like to do, rather than constantly going with the flow. Mia Moore, my girlfriend's all over that. She's got her iPad out. She's looking at restaurant reviews everywhere we go. We have advanced planning and information. Usually works out great because we're not surprised in a bad way. And then, hey, if something catches your eye and causes you to divert your course and go do something cool because there's a street performer and you want to watch them instead of go to the appointed movie at the appointed time, fantastic. Go have fun. Knock yourself out. But yeah, some advanced planning would be great, especially if you're one of those people that maybe is neglectful of that. Like I would say, maybe that's not my strong suit. Okay, so repeating the question, how much of life had I missed from underplanning or over-planning, being a little too rigid? Third question, how could I be kinder to myself? Whew, that one comes up a lot too. Christopher Smith, my golf guru, the greatest speed golfer of all time, his mantra, one of them, when you're out there on the course, is have compassion for your mistakes. I think he directed that specifically at me more than once, probably more than 3 or 4 times when I had a playing lesson with him following me on his kick-ass golf board that he and Laird Hamilton helped invent. So he's sailing along on the golf board, watching me play speed golf in real time, and he had to say, have compassion for your mistakes several times because I had several outbursts out there when I didn't hit the shot that I wanted. And when you can stay in that forgiving mindset about yourself, boy, it opens you up to more potential peak performance rather than wallowing in pity and negative self-talk, self-limiting beliefs that formulate when you're not kind to yourself, eh? Okay. Next question. How can I get better at saying no to the noise and better at saying yes to the adventures I crave? Love that. We can get inundated with busy work, running around, running errands, returning that we bought that we don't like, that we shouldn't have bought in the first place, right? We got a clear space to pursue the adventures we crave. One thing that I notice in my own life that is of great benefit is if I lock into commitments and opportunities for adventure and exercise and then build my day around those. I mentioned the cold plunge a lot, so I know that I'm starting my day doing something for myself that's building focus and resiliency because, again, the water's pretty cold. I'm jumping into 34-degree water, even on a cold winter day. I'm going in there without a second thought, without having to psych myself up, and by doing so every single morning and knowing that's a pattern behavior, I set myself up for more success keeping to commitments and disciplined activities throughout the rest of the day. Still not so great at disciplining my use of email. It kind of drags my attention away from what I'm doing a lot. So we'll have to do a whole another show on that, get some expert in there. Go back and listen to Dr. Elisha Goldstein's show about overcoming tech addiction. It was fantastic. But anyway, when I set up my speed golf opportunities, for example, my choices for speed golf are first thing in the morning, the first guy to tee off on the course. So no fooling around, because if I get behind real golfers, I can't pass them without being disruptive. So my only opportunity is to get there first guy in the morning or right before dark in that sweet spot of 30 minutes before the course gets dark, knowing that it's pretty much empty out there because most people are finishing rather than starting. So those are my only 2 opportunities throughout the day to play speed golf. So you can count on me being on time for those opportunities because they're so rare and specific. So whatever is happening this time of year between 4:30 and 5:15, I am very, very good at saying no to because I can always manage many other opportunities, going out to dinner, running an errand at the store, either before or after that sweet spot of speed golf opportunity time. So that's my answer to question number, that was number 4. Next question, again, this is coming out of Tim Ferriss's journal via the article recapping it. How can I best reassess my life, my priorities, my view of the world, my place in the world, and my trajectory in the world? I don't like when they use those fancy go, go, go terms like trajectory. I think I'm too old for that stuff. I'm going to make a whole vocabulary list of haughty terms like that. But anyway, no offense. How can I best reassess where I'm headed in life? And then this is Christopher Hardy editorializing. In examining these questions, Ferriss openly admitted not experiencing immediate clarity, but rather extreme anxiety and overwhelm. Whew, I hope you guys aren't getting extremely anxious and overwhelmed by listening to me ask you those 6 questions out of Ferriss's journal. Anyway, nothing wrong with being extremely anxious and overwhelmed, because maybe that'll help you dig to the truth and get some insights and maybe change course, right? So what did Ferriss do? He asked himself a different question. And this led to some very specific insights. The insight he got from this one question led him to many of the answers that he was seeking that caused him anxiety. Okay, here it is. And apparently him coming up with this question, asking himself this question, was the inspiration for his most recent best-selling book called Tribe of Mentors. And that is a book that is short stories, short accounts from different successful people on the planet and how they make it work. Whatever they're doing, they're investing, athletics, peak performance, climbing mountains, all kinds of amazing performers gathered in one place in this book, Tribe of Mentors. So you can get some cool insights out of that. And the question that he asked himself was, what would this look like if it were easy? Whew! I like it. I'm feeling it. Are you feeling it? What would this look like if it were easy? Here's one. How about hiring someone who can do something better than you and for less money than you earn in your core area of expertise? Here's the insight that came from Ferriss on that big question that he asked himself. He says the quality of your life and success is in large part dependent upon how specific you are. Specific in the questions you ask. Specific in the people you ask those questions to. Specific in the strategies you go about attaining your goals. As Ferriss states in his epic and illuminating book Tribe of Mentors, short life advice from the best in the world, quote, this is Ferriss talking, life punishes the vague wish and rewards the specific ask. End quote. That one statement could be plastered on every person's wall who seeks a successful life. If you haven't already done so, please reread that statement 10 times, says Hardy. Memorize it. Drill it deep into your psyche. All right, there we go. From egg whites to heart disease risk factors to asking specific questions of yourself, asking specific people, and being specific in the strategies you go about attaining your goals. Thank you for listening. Go over to bradkearns.com and subscribe for the tasteful weekly newsletter alerting you to new podcasts and occasionally other cool stuff inside the newsletter. You also get free gifts like this awesome barefoot ebook called Amazing Feats that'll help you safely and effectively transition over to a more barefoot dominant lifestyle, written by Mark Sisson and I, and time-tested. Loving my barefoot sprints now. It's taken a long time to build up the strength and resilience, but my feet have never felt better, curing a 15-year-long painful condition of plantar fasciitis. Also have a nice video and article on YouTube, Brad Kearns Plantar Fasciitis. If you search for that, you can find the cure and get your feet strong and resilient. For a final aside before I close the show, and look forward to hearing from you. Get over yourself podcast at gmail.com. Have a great day.
I gotta do right, get up in my rearview mirror. I can't be right, open straight. I need tints, need my windows tinted. My windows tinted. I can't be flying down that 110 with the bat in my whip. I need tints, windows tinted. I need tints, my windows tinted. And it's no good for me. It's so good for them. I need tints.
Oh, Oh my, I get to talk about my Almost Heaven sauna. This has been a life-changing acquisition that gives me easy and constant access to one of the most health-boosting therapeutic treatments imaginable, the sauna. Yes, of course, it's been a cultural tradition in Scandinavia and other cold weather countries for hundreds of years. Maybe it's your favorite part of your health club visit or your ski trip vacation resort. But what about if you had a personal sauna in your own home, in your garage, or your backyard? Check out almostheaven.com. They make these super attractive barrel-shaped saunas made of thick, solid wood. None of this fake stuff. It's super easy to assemble. They ship it in a kit to your door. You watch the video, you put it together, get an electrician to wire it, and you're good to go. Turn the timer on, and 30 minutes later, you are in the hot, dry, up to 180 degrees Fahrenheit, and that is the magic zone to get the vaunted health benefits of sauna exposure. You may have heard of these highly lauded heat shock proteins. They deliver profound benefits at the cellular level to boost immune function, cognitive function, cardiovascular function, improve muscular response to exercise and recovery from intense exercise, and of course, longevity. Go to foundmyfitness.com, Rhonda Patrick, and download her report for the extreme scientific details of how beneficial sauna is. I have this classic outdoor pinnacle model. It's 6 foot by 6 foot, fits 4 adults sitting comfortably or 2 adults reclining and instantly going into napping mode. I know, man, when you get in there, no matter what kind of day you had or what mood you're in, you will instantly feel chill. And this is called a hormetic stressor, a positive natural stressor that creates an adaptive response. So with regular sauna use, you become more resilient to all forms of stress that you experience in daily life. Same with my cold plunge into the cold freezer. It delivers these similar health and hormonal benefits that will make it an absolutely essential part of a relaxing, stress-balanced day. Please go check them out. It will change your life. And you can get these beautiful 6x6 or a larger model or even smaller for a surprisingly affordable price due to the direct relationship. You order it on almostheaven.com. They ship it to your door. I can't say enough about it. I'm so excited. This sounds like a commercial. Okay, it is a commercial. But let me tell you, beyond the health benefits, this is a social centerpiece. It's a place to relax and chill and splash the water on the rocks and get a burst of steam. So go pay a quick visit to almostheaven.com. Warning, you're going to be tempted.